And Garrison and I have been having texting all day long, texting.
Kody Brown didn't just lose his marriage, he ignored warning signs that could have saved his son.
The issues between me and Gabriel and Garrison basically have to do with lack of support or adherence to the COVID protocols and stuff like that.
In Sister Wives Season 16, Episode 7, there's a pivotal moment when Janelle tells Kody to F off during a tense family meeting about COVID protocols. The scene is charged, but viewing it with hindsight offers a deeper, more troubling perspective, especially regarding Janelle, Garrison, and the emotional toll of the pandemic. Several earlier moments in the show now seem interconnected. When the family moved from Utah to Las Vegas, Janelle expressed feeling depressed due to the physical separation from the rest of the family and the strain of financial uncertainty.
When we moved to Vegas, Hunter really had a hard time. He struggled.
Around that same period, her son Hunter struggled deeply with the move, something that visibly affected Janelle as a mother. Later, during the move to Flagstaff, Janelle again mentioned feelings of depression, though she noted it was more manageable, possibly due to being surrounded by nature, which brought her some peace. Leading up to the events of Episode 7.
But then, all of a sudden, along comes this pandemic. Kody and I are away from each other indefinitely because I've got Garrison and Gabriel who are working and in school.
Janelle raised concerns to Kody about Garrison's mental health. She noted that he seemed lonely during the pandemic and questioned the logic behind forcing him out of the home. Her concern was met with resistance. Janelle also emphasized, both to Kody and the other wives, the importance of taking care of her own mental well-being. She made it clear that being able to occasionally leave the house was essential for her emotional health. In a confessional filmed from her car shortly after the argument with Kody, Janelle said, "I'm between a rock and a hard place here. I'm having to make sure my kids are safe, my kids are mentally well, and I'm giving them the best chance."
I was traveling back to Flagstaff, and Garrison and I have been having texting all day long, texting.
These statements, especially in light of later events, suggest that Janelle was aware of signs that Garrison was not doing well mentally.
It's very hard on me, and it's hard on our family.
It's possible she recognized similar symptoms to her own past experiences with depression. She appeared to be doing her best to support him and maintain some stability in the household. In contrast, Kody's response seemed dismissive.
Christine herself, her face doesn't bother me. It's what she's doing with our children, talking behind my back about the reason she left.
His reaction to Garrison mirrored how he previously brushed off Hunter's difficulties, labeling them as entitlement or defiance. Throughout the show, there's little evidence that he took Janelle's emotional struggles seriously, nor those of their children, unless they directly affected him.
Aurora has been having panic attacks, and one of the first signs that she's about to have one is that she starts to twitch.
One notable exception was his reaction to Aurora's panic attacks, which he appeared to handle with sensitivity and care. This disparity in responses raises concerns about inconsistency in his emotional availability and involvement as a parent.
I knew he'd been drinking again. He would go through periods where he was really good.
Later, Janelle revealed that Garrison had begun drinking during the pandemic, another sign of his distress. It's unlikely that this was something she concealed from Kody, even if it wasn't discussed openly on camera, likely out of a desire to protect Garrison's privacy. Despite this, Kody continued to pressure Janelle to remove Garrison and Gabriel from the home, a stance that now appears not only insensitive but harmful. A clear distinction emerges between the parenting styles within the family. The original three mothers, Janelle, Christine, and Mary, were actively involved in raising their children, often prioritizing their emotional and mental well-being despite immense personal challenges.
You're not seeing all the input. You just are like, they should respect me.
Kody, on the other hand, often appeared more focused on control than connection. While he professed love for his children, his limited presence and lack of engagement suggest that he was not consistently functioning as an emotionally supportive father. The consequences of this imbalance are visible. Children struggling with mental health, fractured relationships, and a growing sense of emotional abandonment. These outcomes are not just unfortunate, they were preventable had there been a greater investment in the emotional lives of the family. What kind of parent watches their child suffer for 9 months and still doesn't pay for the surgery?
It's been 9 months since she told me she was in just pain every day. And as soon as I found out she was in pain every day, I started applying for insurance at that point.
In season 16, episode 5, Christine reveals that it had been 9 months since she learned Isabel was experiencing severe daily pain from scoliosis. Upon finding this out, she began applying for insurance, which took that entire time to secure. This raises an obvious question. Isabel's scoliosis was not a new diagnosis. It was a known, progressively worsening condition. Why was action toward securing insurance only taken once the pain became unmanageable? Preparation for inevitable medical needs, especially for a child with a serious condition, should have been a priority long before it reached this point.
Or wait 6 months and be able to have me and mom go.
Meanwhile, Kody objected to the surgery, refusing to use family funds and reportedly preferring to wait until Isabel turned 18 so she could obtain insurance independently.
If we're going in September for the surgery, I don't think I'm going to be going.
He also appeared unwilling to be directed by Christine or any medical professionals involved, especially those he had clashed with in the past.
You're not going by yourself. That's not an option.
These decisions reflect a pattern of avoidance and control rather than support. Across the family, there seemed to be a general disregard for health insurance. Despite living in large homes, owning multiple vehicles, and affording travel, the adults chose not to invest in consistent health coverage for their children. This is particularly troubling given the size of the family and the inevitability of medical needs. Historically, before gaining television exposure and higher income, it's plausible the family may have qualified for state assistance, particularly in single-income or single-parent situations. However, after achieving financial success, such aid would no longer be available, making it all the more critical to ensure proper coverage was in place through private means. Further complicating the issue, the surgeons who performed Isabel's procedure reportedly did not accept insurance at all. At the time, anterior scoliosis correction, ASC, was only performed by a specialized group of doctors in the New York City and Jersey area, and their practice required a $50,000 payment before surgery. While insurance might have covered hospital stays or post-operative therapies, the surgical team itself operated outside of any insurance network.
I never felt like I had much control over my own money because everybody was pulling from the same.
Christine was therefore left to save this amount herself. This context helps explain the financial hurdles, but it does not excuse the lack of planning.
Of the daily grind Isabel was going through with her pain.
The delay in addressing a serious and escalating condition highlights a failure in priorities, not just from one parent, but from the broader adult decision-making structure within the family.
When COVID started, we agreed as a family that we wouldn't travel, that we would sequester.
The situation reflects broader patterns: frequent relocations, inconsistent education approaches, avoidance of conventional healthcare practices, and a general lack of long-term planning. In the case of Isabel's surgery, the consequences of these choices were real, prolonged, and painful. Why Mary's growth arc isn't as real as it looks. Mary has long walked the line between sympathetic figure and frustrating enabler. On the one hand, it's easy to feel for her. She's been emotionally sidelined for years. On the other, her actions often undermine that sympathy.
It's like a knife in my kidney.
Man, just the knife in the kidney!
Take season 17, for example. When Kody made his now infamous knife in the kidneys remark about Christine leaving, Mary was quick to back him up, implying Christine was in the wrong.
But I wanted to have a marriage. And so I felt like I needed to be defensive of Kody.
It was a classic pick-me moment, aligning with Kody not out of genuine agreement, but seemingly to stay in his good graces. Despite some noticeable personal growth in recent years, that same dynamic still shows through. Even during recent tell-alls, remnants of that validation-seeking behavior surface.
I feel like I can be more honest now, how I really felt in that moment.
It's difficult to view her as fully independent when she continues to defend Kody and Robin despite their clear role in her isolation. There have also been moments where her attitude toward Christine seemed less than supportive. During key family conversations about Christine's departure, Mary's expression often bordered on smug.
to me that the guy that Christine is dating is going to be at this party. So this is the first I've ever heard about it.
There were even social media posts at the time that appeared to mock Christine, particularly around her cooking content, actions that certainly didn't help the tension between them.
I think it's freaking hilarious.
Really?
I think it's hilarious.
Mary's current embrace of the favorite ex-wife title doesn't help her case. The pride she seems to take in that label feels misplaced, especially when it comes off as clinging to a toxic dynamic.
And there's just one thing and then another thing.
Kody calling her right before the tell-all to say he wasn't over the breakup only underscores how entangled their relationship still is, and how willing she may be to stay in that emotional limbo. Part of the issue may be that Mary rarely saw Christine's side directly. Most of what she knew came through Kody and Robin, which likely skewed her perspective.
I think Mary wanted to fit in and belong and be part of a family, and she was hoping for so long that everything would be okay because she was being told by Robin, he still says he loves you.
Combine that with a tendency toward black and white thinking, and it's easy to see how Mary became stuck in a loop of loyalty, even to those who've repeatedly let her down.
And I did every one of the things that he asked me to. And then it just wasn't good enough. So
In truth, the entire group, Mary included, was shaped by a culture that prioritized compliance, submission, and silence in the name of spiritual harmony. They were taught not to question, not to disrupt, and certainly not to leave. So while individual behavior is fair to critique, it's also important to recognize the deeper roots. These women weren't just acting on personal whims. They were following a script they were handed from childhood. Breaking free from that? It's hard. And not everyone is moving at the same pace. They say Kody and Robin had a love blessed by God. But what kind of divine plan involves cheating, gaslighting, and favoritism?
I'll tell you what, there's a divine aspect about my relationship with Robin, and we have been bitch slapped for it. But I'm sick of it.
I know, but
Kody claims he and Robin shared a divine love from the very beginning, with God acting as his personal wingman. A heavenly romance, apparently. And yet, despite this supposed spiritual connection, he continued being intimate with his other wives. It's hard to believe any celestial being would endorse that arrangement.
I mean, I miss you, honey. I miss you. And I just don't know how to fix this.
Though he eventually distanced himself from Mary and later Christine, he shared a rekindled physical relationship with Janelle during their time in Las Vegas. So much for exclusive, soul-deep devotion. Apparently, divine love doesn't come with a monogamy clause, at least not in Kody's version of the scriptures.
The act is easy.
His idea of love seems to follow a convenient philosophy, sacred for him, situational for everyone else. As he once smugly put it, "Oh, the act is easy."
And then at the last part of Janelle's pregnancy with Madison, Christine got pregnant again with McKelty.
Clearly, he insists that Robin was different, that she was special from the moment he saw her, unlike any of the others. And yet, Christine was still becoming pregnant during the early days of his so-called courtship with Robin. That alone undermines the narrative of a destined, God-ordained partnership. It adds a layer of hypocrisy that's difficult to ignore.
never been this much in love either. I never loved Kody as much as I loved David.
The recent bitterness seems less about love and more about jealousy. Watching Christine move forward with someone new appears to have struck a nerve. Meanwhile, Robin, reserved and risk-averse, offers none of the excitement Kody seems to crave. What remains is a relationship that lacks spark, sustained only by the memory of what it once took from others.
And he was experiencing this divine love, this special love.
From the outset, their bond thrived on favoritism. Robin positioned herself as the one he favored, and he enjoyed playing the hero in her story. She encouraged distance from Janelle long ago, but it wasn't until the pandemic that she succeeded. The separation was never about divine connection, it was about control.
Art, it's messing with her.
Neither of them expected the other wives to leave. Now that they have, the illusion of a perfect love is all that remains. And rather than confront the reality, they double down, clinging to the fantasy. Because letting go of the lie would mean admitting the truth. It was never divine love. It was selective affection, dressed up in spiritual rhetoric. What happens when a reality star with no job, no income, and no backup plans suddenly runs out of money?
Then I focused mostly on sort of getting the cars for the kids, basically had a fleet, insuring the cars for the kids.
They shared the house payments.
Robin has a serious spending problem and refuses to work or contribute financially. Together, she and Kody are saddled with a hefty mortgage on their new home. Without the financial support of the other wives who are no longer around to share the burden,
I don't have anything in my name. I have the properties all mishmashed.
Kody and Robin are left to face the reality of their unsustainable lifestyle. The show is likely nearing its end, and once the money from that dries up, the question becomes, how will Kody handle it?
There's a struggle that I have had because I had this big picture that got shattered. But I have a safe
Him in a place of fear.
His so-called biggest fear is poverty, yet he seems to operate under the belief that the money will always keep rolling in. Whether it's through another reality show, social media, or side hustles like Cameo, Kody appears to believe he's destined for financial success simply by existing. Unfortunately for him, reality may hit hard. If the income stops, Robin, who has shown no interest in financial independence, may not stick around. Kody has long relied on others to keep things afloat, including the ex-wives who once helped support the entire family. That safety net is gone.
I always made more money than the other sister wives.
Robin's spending habits have never aligned with the frugal nature of the original family structure. In past financial disputes, particularly involving Janelle, there's reason to believe Janelle covered legitimate household expenses, while rejecting the notion that Robin's credit card bills counted as family costs. The original wives each paid their own way. Robin's overspending was never part of that agreement. Kody may be in for a serious financial reckoning.
Because he says we had all these other debts, but yet I've watched.
He has historically chased quick-fix financial schemes rather than long-term stability, and that approach may no longer work.
I really did not see how the dollars and cents were going to work.
Robin lacks the work experience or mindset to contribute if things get difficult, and Kody shows no interest in holding a traditional job.
It's like, have I always just been a resource for you?
In the end, they may both be forced to confront a reality they've spent years avoiding, living within their means. Everything the Browns denied in that infamous debate, it all came true, and now there's no denying who really tore that family apart. Watching the final part of the season-ending Sister Wives Tell-All was a moment of reckoning. With the benefit of hindsight, the contradictions and unraveling truths were impossible to ignore. The emotional weight of what's come to light left a pit in the stomach. Across seasons 18 and 19, the editing has blurred the timeline so much that the story becomes a dizzying swirl of flashbacks, out-of-order scenes, and new footage of events from years ago.
She was gaslighting everyone.
It's like watching a reality show try to gaslight its own history. One minute it's 2020, the next it's 2018, and then suddenly we're in 2023 pretending none of it overlapped. The show began as a look into what was presented as a functional, loving, plural family. A rare kind of union, a modern twist on a traditional, controversial lifestyle. For years, it seemed like maybe, just maybe, they really were different. That they had something authentic. That love and mutual respect somehow made it all work. But now, the cracks weren't just cracks. They were chasms.
In general, I think was awful. I'm disappointed that it turned into a debate.
One particular episode from earlier seasons stands out in light of everything. Season 6, Episode 9, a debate between the Browns and several former polygamists. At the time, the Browns pushed back hard against every warning shared, about time being spread too thin, about children being emotionally neglected, about financial instability, jealousy, control, and fear. They insisted, that's not happening here. Except it absolutely was.
My adult children are coming after me too, and saying that I've been neglecting everybody.
Everything the ex-polygamist described eventually played out in the Brown family. Time stretched impossibly thin, children emotionally fractured, financial strain, deep-seated jealousy, and a growing sense of control disguised as unity. The warnings weren't abstract, they were prophetic. A return to that exact debate years later would be a powerful full-circle moment, not for drama, but for truth. Imagine putting those same voices in a room again, with all the footage, all the receipts, and all the consequences now laid bare. It would be the honest, unvarnished conversation the audience never got.
Do not make me a victim, sweetie.
And then there's Robin. Her infamous line, "Don't make me a victim, sweetie," has aged about as well as unrefrigerated milk.
Robin turned it into us trying to ostracize her and played the victim.
Because victimhood has become her whole identity. The constant tears, the deflections, the strategic helplessness. It's not just repetitive, it's a tactic. And the question remains, a victim of what exactly?
Of using COVID to make that exclusive and then turning yourself into the victim and saying that it's our fault.
The reality is, Robin and Kody together unraveled the very foundation they claimed to protect.
And I'm like trying to explain to them that I wasn't neglecting everybody.
The emotional damage, the favoritism, the alienation, it's no longer speculation. It's documented. For Christine, there's empathy, the fear, the silence, the need to survive within a belief. There's also a question of how the adult children see things now.
To truth be told, that was what made me fall in love with Kody. Seeing him be present with his kid.
For example, Maddie once defended Kody when a former polygamist criticized his role as a father. She believed in him fiercely, but perspectives change.
Maddie's mama bear to an extreme.
Watching one's father alienate his family on national television can't help but reshape that narrative. This is the tell-all that needs to happen, not the edited diplomatic version that glosses over years of dysfunction, but a raw and truthful look at what really went wrong. Not for drama, but for accountability. Because if the story has shown anything, it's that ignoring the truth doesn't erase it. It just delays the moment you're forced to face it, with cameras rolling. Mary claims she's grown, but here's what she just said that proves otherwise. Mary recently spoke about her relationship with Robin and the rest of the family. Despite being someone who has endured multiple difficult relationships without apparent awareness, she criticized Janelle and Christine for their ongoing complaints about Kody and Robin.
Mary had given him a gold ring, and then he kind of wore that gold ring.
No, he had done that before I came along.
Interestingly, Mary herself was the one who introduced Kody to Robin on the show, something she now oddly denies or claims confusion about, despite video evidence confirming it. She also commented on Robin's daily routine, noting that Robin typically goes to bed around 2 a.m. and doesn't wake up until 11 a.m.
Mess. And honestly, Robin would be doing her makeup forever and doing our kids' hair.
Mary justified the need for a babysitter by explaining that neither she nor Robin does anything before putting on makeup, as though that explains the lack of engagement in family responsibilities.
Getting breakfast made, cleaning up the mess.
But during the family's travels, while managing 16 children, it wasn't Robin or Mary handling the logistics. It was Christine, Janelle, and even Logan who took on the heavy lifting, preparing meals and organizing activities for the children. The focus was meant to be on the kids, not appearances.
He says it to me, she's like, "Oh my gosh, David put my luggage on the rack." And we're like, "Oh, wow, that means something."
At one point, Mary imitated Christine's voice while referencing a past complaint about a luggage rack, an attempt at humor that came off as dismissive and unkind.
His way of doing that was to melt down the wedding ring. Oh no, I melted it down. I didn't want you to have any claim on me.
In another conversation, Mary referred to a story about Kody melting his wedding ring, which she had previously told to someone she was involved with during her catfishing situation. This story resurfaced during a recent discussion about the symbolic horsey rings now worn by Kody and Robin.
And I spent those 7 years trying to be in this relationship with Kody that he did not want to be in with me.
While Mary had once shared the ring incident as an example of her own emotional experiences, she now seems critical of Christine for sharing her own past with Kody, despite the show's ongoing focus on these very relationships.
That's a you thing. That's yours to carry. That's not mine.
Mary frequently uses self-help language and references personal growth, but her actions suggest otherwise. Her continued defense of Kody and Robin's behavior, despite past harm, raises questions about the depth of that supposed transformation. It's me, Elena. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next video. Take care, and much love to you all.